Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am Mr. Cobalt, and today we are going to be talking about limiting reactants and what they are. But before I begin, let me adjust this so you can see me better. Okay, I'm going to go back to my example of pizza making to explain limiting reactants. You remember that your chemical equation, excuse me, your uh, sorry about that. So remember that your chemical equation is like a recipe. You need a certain amount of reactants to make a certain amount of product, and so pizza making is the same way. So if for our hypothetical pizza, let's say that we are making, in order to make one pizza, you need one crust, 5 ounces of tomato sauce, TS for tomato sauce, and you need 2 cups of cheese. And let's say this is just a simple cheese pizza, nothing else is going to go on it. So you get one pizza from each of these ingredients. Well, what happens if I walk into my pantry and I look to see the ingredients I have, and this is what I have in my pantry? So turns out I have 4 crusts, I have 10 cups of cheese, and I have 15 ounces of tomato sauce. So the question then becomes, well, what's the maximum number of pizzas I can make with my ingredients? And so the limiting reagent in my ingredients is the reagent that limits the number of pizzas I can make. So the whatever ingredient I have that gives me the least number of pizzas that I can make, that's the limiting reagent. So I can only make as many pizzas as the ingredients I have. So if I only have a certain amount of, say, tomato sauce, or a certain amount of cups of cheese or crusts, I can only make that many pizzas. So what we could do is we can calculate the amount of pizzas that I can make theoretically from each of these, right? So how many pizzas could I make possible from 4 crusts if I had everything I needed, or 10 cups of cheese if I had everything I needed, and 15 ounces. What's the number of pizzas I can make from each of these ingredients? And then we can see from each of these the number of pizzas that we can make. So let's do that. So if I have 4 crusts, and I'm going to use my recipe, my balanced equation here, as mole-mole ratios. So these are ratios of crusts to ounces of tomato sauce, or ounces of tomato sauce to cups. So these are going to be my ratios. So for 4 crusts, we're going to compare that to pizzas. I want to know how many pizzas I can make from each of these. So I'm going to compare the number of crusts to the number of pizzas in my equation, in my recipe. And so from my recipe, I have 1 crust is going to give me 1 pizza. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So I can use that as a conversion factor. So 1 crust to 1 pizza. So the crust is going to cancel out. Now I can calculate the pizza. So 4 times 1, that's going to give me 4 pizzas maximum. If I have everything else. If I have everything else, then I can make 4 pizzas. Okay. What about my 10 cups of cheese? So I can convert that to pizzas using the ratio in my equation. So for cups of cheese, it's 2 cups of cheese for every 1 pizza. So I'm going to use that ratio as a conversion factor. So 2 cups of cheese is going to go on the bottom. And then 1 pizza, oops, yeah. So one pizza will go on top. 1 pizza. Okay, so cups of cheese cancel out. And now I have pizzas, so now I'm going to do the calculation. So 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So I can make 5 pizzas. If from 10 cups of cheese, if I have enough of everything else. What about the ounces of tomato sauce? I have 15 ounces of tomato sauce, so I can convert ounces of tomato sauce to pizzas. So for each pizza, 5 ounces to 1 pizza. So that's the ratio I'm going to use. So 5 ounces of tomato sauce on the bottom, 1 pizza on top. Ounces of tomato sauce cancel out, and so I can do the calculation. 15 divided by 5 gives me 3 pizzas. Okay. So now I've looked at each of the ingredients and I've translated each of them from my cupboard to the number of pizzas that each of these ingredients will give me. Okay, so looking at the number of pizzas that each one gives me, it looks like the amount of tomato sauce that I have in my pantry will only provide enough to give me 3 pizzas. What does that mean? It means that when I made my 3 pizzas, I'm taking my ingredients, I'm making my pizzas. So I put the crust together, I put the tomato sauce, 5 ounces, and I put 2 cups of cheese on the first pizza. I put it in the oven, it's cooking. I take another crust, right? So now I have 3 crusts left. I take a third crust. I take my second crust. I take another 2 cups of cheese. And I take another 5 ounces of my tomato sauce, put that together, and I put that in the oven, right? So now I'm cooking 2 pizzas. I have 5 ounces of tomato sauce left. I have now 6 cups of cheese left, and I have 2 crusts left. So now I can make another pizza. So I'm going to take another crust. So this is going to be my third pizza. I'm going to take the last 5 ounces of tomato sauce and another 2 cups of cheese, and I'm going to put that in the oven. That's my third pizza. Now, I've just run out of tomato sauce. Can I make any more pizzas? No. Why not? Because I don't have tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is in the recipe. If I run out of tomato sauce after 3 pizzas, then I'm going to have leftover ingredients. I'm going to have 4 cups of cheese left over, and I'm going to have 1 crust left over. But I can't use them because I've run out of the tomato sauce. So, and that's because I only had enough tomato sauce to make 3 pizzas. So after I make the third pizza, I've run out of this ingredient, and so I'm done. I am limited by the number of pizzas, or I'm limited by the tomato sauce as far as the number of pizzas I can make. And that's what this 3 tells me. So if I translate or convert all of this into the number of pizzas that I can make possible if I have enough ingredients, then the lowest number is what tells me I'm limited at. And that tells me the ingredient that is limiting the number of pizzas I make. And it's that ingredient that is limiting the number of pizzas I make that I call the limiting reactant. Okay? So if this was a chemistry problem, we would do the same thing. We would translate our reactants into products and see, okay, which one is going to give me the least amount of product, and that one is the one that's going to run out first. So I make 3 pizzas. I have now run out of my tomato sauce, so I have no more tomato sauce. So the pizza making reaction has stopped. So it's done, right? So at this point, I have leftover ingredients. I have leftover cheese and leftover crust, but no more tomato sauce. So in my pizza making reaction, I'm now finished. So I made 3 pizzas. That is the maximum amount of pizzas I can make given these ingredients, given these amounts of each ingredient. And so the tomato sauce is my limiting reactant. And these reactants, these ingredients are the ones that are in excess. they are left over. So I have leftover cups of cheese. So I have excess amount of cheese. So I have 4 cups of cheese left over in excess. And I have 1 crust left over in excess. So, but I have 0 of my limiting reagent. So when that is gone, the pizza making reaction stops. And so the tomato sauce is, again, the limiting reagent. And then the crust and the cups of cheese, those are going to be my reagents that are in excess. I have leftover, okay? And so that is what we mean by limiting reagent, okay? So then there's this other thing called a theoretical yield. So the theoretical yield is the maximum amount of product that I can form given whatever amounts of ingredients or reactants I'm given. So in this case, the maximum amount of pizza that I'm able to form theoretically is 3, because I'm limited by the limiting reagent. So 3 is the theoretical yield of my pizza, assuming everything goes right? But what if instead, while I'm making the pizza, I forgot about the pizza because I'm too busy talking to you guys, explaining about limiting reagents, and I forget about the pizza. And the pizza burns. So I burn one of my pizzas, right? So instead of actually making 3 pizzas, I only make 2 pizzas. So my actual yield of pizza making is actually 2 pizzas. So I actually make 2 pizzas, right? I actually make 2 pizzas, but theoretically, I could have made 3 based on what I had. So the theoretical yield, so this would be my theoretical yield, right? And this is my limiting reagent, limiting reactant. And these would be my reactants in excess, right? Okay, so my theoretical yield is what I should get mathematically if everything goes right. And then you go into the kitchen or you go into the lab and you actually do the making, the reaction, the cooking, and you make a mistake, right? You burn one of the pizzas and you only get 2 pizzas. That's the actual yield. That's the actual yield. What you actually got when you went into the kitchen or you went into the lab. Okay, so then what you can calculate is what is called the percent yield, right? And the percent yield is going to be the actual, right, or the actual amount, what you got in the lab or the kitchen, divided by the theoretical, what you theoretically calculated to be the case, and you're going to divide those 2 multiplied by 100. So in this case, my theoretical would be I actually made 2 pizzas. Theoretically, I should have got 3 pizzas. And then I'm going to multiply by 100 and I get 67% yield. So I only got 67% of the pizzas I should have made, right? So this applies to the lab as well. So all of this is going to be applied, but instead of recipes, we're talking about equations, we're talking about reactants and products and things like that. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this makes it clear what a limiting reagent is, and theoretical yield and actual yield and percent yield and all that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, if it was good, share it with your friends, like the video, hit the bell for notifications for other videos, make a comment in the comment section, tell me what you think, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.